So yeah, I said I'd do a bumper movie review of all the films that came out over summer, which I missed because the technology was not in my possession. So here you go, there's about 6 or 7 films, which everybody's going to know, probably seen, that came out: Indiana Jones, Dark Knight, Iron Man, and I'm just going to do some quick reviews because people have asked me my views on them. So here you go. So yeah, we're going to start chronologically with the first film released this summer, which was Iron Man. Stars Robert Downey Jr. as the titular hero. The main plot revolves around Tony Stark being an arms dealer who gets captured in Iraq and has a revelatory experience which proves he probably shouldn't be selling weapons, and he becomes Iron Man to try and stop the ne'er-do-wells that would bring down the good old US of A. So as far as a Marvel superhero movie goes, it's above the normal and kind of goes into the Spider-Man area, where it's trying to tell a moral story as well as a good superhero story. And it succeeds. It's very slow. I mean, the bit in Iraq takes forever, and when he actually becomes Iron Man, it takes him about half an hour to actually realise his superpowers. And the main villain isn't realised until like the last 20 minutes, so those are the main complaints. But as a superhero movie goes, you really couldn't ask for more. It's got action, it's got quite a nice funny romance going on between Stark and his secretary Pepper Potts, which I liked. I can't say I'm a big fan of the comic book, so I don't really know if it was true to the story or not. But I liked the film. I give it a solid 8 out of 10, and I'll almost definitely buy it when it comes out on DVD. Next up we have Indiana Jones 4, which is Harrison Ford reprising his role as the world-famous archaeologist, Shia LaBeouf taking up the role as his son, and Cate Blanchett playing the villainous Russian agent Spulko. He tries to reunite the 4 crystal skulls, which they say, if they're brought together, will bring about the end of the world. Now, the plot may sound fantastic for an Indiana Jones film, and it is. And that's one of the main problems with the film, that aliens don't really belong in an Indiana Jones film. I think George Lucas should stick with Star Wars, but more on that later. The premise of Aliens didn't quite gel, and the ending, although it looked superb, did kind of seem a bit put on. And if the series continues the way it is, I certainly hope Shia LaBeouf doesn't take over, because I found him slightly annoying. But that being said, Harrison Ford did put in a fantastic turn, as old as he is. And they did manage to waste a fantastic actor, John Hurt, who basically did nothing but babble for the whole film. It was a letdown, considering they built this up as being the return of one of the major figures in cinematic history. And I seriously think they need to think about where they take the series. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'll probably end up getting it on DVD, just simply because it's Indian. Now we have the second entry in our superhero films list, The Incredible Hulk. The remake, or sequel, depending on how you look at it, to the original Ang Lee 2003 film, which, as we all know, pretty much bombed at the box office, and for a good reason. This film sees Bruce Banner trying to evade the military and eventually come to terms with his hulkiness. As you may have guessed, I didn't particularly care for the Ang Lee Hulk. I thought it was too slow, didn't have anything in it that the Hulk should be, and generally it deserved to flop. But this film was a big improvement. The only thing I didn't like about it was Liv Tyler, because she's Liv Tyler and I don't like her. The idea of bringing in Iron Man at the end, which is only a slight spoiler to be honest, was brilliant. I love what Marvel are doing at the moment to make up the Avengers, which, if you don't know, is kind of like a superhero squad. And it's a good film regardless of the tie-in aspects. It's a solid story, and it definitely sets up any future installments of the franchise. And I think it stands as a worthy accomplice to Iron Man as a summer film, and it's a shame that it kind of failed at the box office, because it's so much better than Ang Lee's version, and I really think if you didn't like that, you'll probably enjoy this one. So I give this film a 7 out of 10, not as good as Iron Man, because it did have some character flaws in the acting, but still a solid film, and I would definitely consider getting it on DVD. Okay, on to The Happening. Oh dear, I so don't want to review this. Probably the worst film of 2008, definitely one of the worst films of all time. This deals with Mark Wahlberg and his family trying to escape what they think is a terrorist attack which makes people randomly commit suicide. And if that plot does sound incredibly stupid, it is! Well done! Now, some of my long-time subscribers may remember that I was quite hyped for The Happening, and I did a mock of the trailer because I thought it wasn't serious enough. And I put on some funny music with people. Bad thing is, it actually turns out that was better than the entire film. I mean, in my opinion. The idea of people committing suicide is a good idea, apart from the fact in the plot it says that it turns off a bit of their brain, the self-preservation area, which, if you think about it, wouldn't actually make you want to commit suicide. It would just make you less cautious. The acting was wooden. The whole suicide thing was actually laughable the way they did it, because in the British version they actually cut out most of the gore without telling people. So the Americans got the best version, but it's still a turd. You can't disguise a turd any way you put it. Really, really a bad film, and can be epitomised by the scene where Mark Wahlberg goes into a station just off of the train they've got off of, and there's a big sign behind them as they pull up saying Connecticut, or wherever they are. There's just a sign behind them saying where they are. He gets off the train, goes to a porter with the sign behind him, and says in the most wooden way, "Where the hell are we?" That scene itself proves how retarded this film is, and Shyamalan needs to think about what he's doing in the future before putting anything onto paper. I hear he got a contract with Disney, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I give this film a 3 out of 10. And I only give it a 3 because some of the bits are quite cool, where the guy gets blown away with a shotgun. That's cool. And the creepy lady at the end, "You die in my lemon water." Yeah, that's classic. You may want to scrub your minds to forget I just said that. If you see this on DVD, don't ignore it, burn it. Make sure nobody ever sees this film ever again. And before anybody says I hate Shyamalan, I don't. I love his films. Unbreakable is his best, which proves I'm a fan, because most people hate that film. Signs, awesome. Village, awesome. Lady in the Water, yeah, it's another topic. But seriously, you let me down, dude. Just, what the hell? On to our third superhero film, if you can call it that, The Dark Knight, which sees Bruce Wayne, aka the Batman, trying to take down the Joker and Two-Face in the struggle for the control of Gotham City. And, I mean, if you haven't seen this film, you're probably insane! Now, by the time I made this video, everybody knows about The Dark Knight. I mean, if you haven't, you must have been living under a rock. It's the best film of the year, in my opinion, and probably one of the best superhero movies ever made. And I am going to call it and say it's better than Iron Man. But they are two different films, so it's quite hard to make an actual judgment. The acting in it is some of the best in a superhero film that I've seen recently. Didn't like Maggie Gyllenhaal. She was flat and not a good replacement for Rachel. Heath Ledger, I don't know if he deserves a posthumous Oscar, but he should be commended for his portrayal of the Joker. I'd say easily rivals, if not better, that of Jack Nicholson, who did it in the original 1989 Batman film. The special effects are outstanding. The twist at the end is quite good. It really leaves it uncertain as to where the third film will go, and I won't ruin it in case you haven't seen it. If you have, go and buy a ticket now. It's phenomenal. It was the #1 film on IMDb for ages. I mean, there's nothing I can't say about this film that you won't have already heard. It deserves every praise it has. So, solid 9 out of 10. Only deducting that 1 point for Maggie Gyllenhaal. Get off my screen. So, the third Mummy film, because I don't count The Scorpion King, which sees the original team, minus Rachel Weisz, she got replaced by Maria Bello, going to China to try and stop Jet Li's Emperor from taking over the world. You know, standard Mummy fare, really. Now, I'm a big fan of the original Mummy series. I love the first two, not so much The Scorpion King. And I was disappointed by this film because they didn't capture the spirit of the original. I mean, moving it to China in the first place was a stupid mistake. But that being said, it had brilliant action sequences. The end battle was fantastic. I mean, not the one with Jet Li, the two armies going at each other. Was alright with Maria Bello, didn't really mind her. Alex and his father being about the same age didn't make literal sense. And my major complaint about the film was them turning Jonathan into an arse. Because although he was funny in the first two films, he always had some sort of reason between being a bit stupid. But in this, he was just stupid comedic relief, which didn't work. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. If you like the Mummy franchise, you probably like it, but you might be a bit disappointed. And I probably won't pick it up on DVD, because it's one of those films that once you've seen, and there's nothing new. Okay guys, I'm going to have to cut this short because of the 10-minute limit on YouTube. But in the second half of this video, I've only got one review left to do, which is The Clone Wars, and just a little summary and what's coming next. So stay tuned.